Hi there, it's Catherine, your lawyer friend and guide, and this is the #1 podcast for legal careers in Japan. Hey there, and welcome back to Lawyer on Air. I'm so glad you've tuned in because today's guest is someone whose career shows us that nothing is ever wasted. Tomoko Nakajima is a partner at Freshfields in Tokyo and the head of the firm's M&A practice in Japan. With more than 2 decades of experience, she's worked across borders and across disciplines, finance, real estate, infrastructure, bringing a global view and a really grounded perspective to complex transactions. In this episode, we talk about reinventions, about something you did years ago, an internship, a tough client, even a pivot that you made can circle back and become useful in the most unexpected ways. Tomoko shares how pieces of her past continue to show up in the work that she leads today and why she believes it is all connected. And of course, I asked her one of our Season 10 signature questions. What is your lawyer superpower? It made me reflect on mine too, and maybe it will make you think about yours. Often a superpower is something others tell you over and over. It feels so natural to you that you don't even realize it's unique. For me, I've been told that somehow I get people to open up and share answers that they've never said out loud, ever before. And maybe that's what helps bring out these powerful stories on this podcast. So, what's your superpower? Why don't you listen in and let this episode with Tomoko get you thinking? Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend or colleague who might just need to hear it today. Now, let's get into it. Hello, Tomoko, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for having me today.
It's so good to have you. I think I've been waiting a while for you to come on the show. So I wanted to start with our opening question. Imagine we are meeting up in person. Tell me your favorite wine bar or favorite cafe, and what are you ordering to drink from the menu?
I am in a music bar at Ginza where I can enjoy house music, EDM, pop music, jazz, and everything. I'm having short cocktail XYZ.
What is show cocktail XYZ? What is that?
I just think I'm not very good at telling which one is good and which one is bad.
Just the
I
taste,
just drink
right?
it, and name sounds so cool.
It does sound cool, and that's why I'm just thinking, okay. So everyone, I'm very undereducated here, and sticking to my wines and my champagnes, I think I probably need to check out what this one is, or come along with you to this bar and order it with you, and we can work out what's inside it with the bar person.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah,
Sounds fun. So
definitely.
what do you like about sitting at the bar there when you're sitting there and you've got that cocktail in front of you?
Usually I go to this music bar by myself, alone, and sit on the counter.
Mm,
I feel that I can forget about everything, all the noises in my head,
mm.
and release my stress, and I can immerse myself into this beautiful, beautiful music.
Okay. Well, next time you don't have to be by yourself at the counter if I can join you and we can
Yes,
both
sure.
release our stress. I love
Yep.
music, so
Very welcome.
that would be fabulous. Well, let's get into your career and your pathway into law because you're a little different. And I know that you started your career in a boutique firm and then you made it into this international firm of Freshfields where you are now. But back, further on into your background, what really sparked you to get interested in the law? And I'm not sure that it was a goal for you from the get-go, but tell us your story.
Sure, happy to. My career stories is a bit unique. First of all, I didn't go to Hogakubu, legal department at university. In fact, I didn't have any interest in law when I was a high school student, and I was least interested in law. As a high
Mm.
school student, law was quite dry and a lot of memorization and extremely boring, I thought. And at the same time, I couldn't decide what I want to do as a high school student, so I chose to study the liberal arts at an international Christian university. In my young and immature mind, living in the middle of rice field in the Gunma prefecture,
Hmm.
that decision was the smartest one I felt because I could learn a broad range of subjects at the liberal arts and become educated without pigeonholing myself into specific area. However, after I started studying at ICU, I soon realized that that was a mistake, big mistake.
Ooh.
What I needed to learn in the liberal arts was so broad and almost impossible for me to digest and assimilate knowledge, I realized.
I see.
Of course, in my later career, liberal arts helped me tremendously. Like critical thinking that I learned was so helping me in my career right now, but I didn't realize that at the time. I also saw my senior students at ICU job hunting, wearing typical uniformed recruit suits of dark blue with black high heels in the early summer, literally sweating. And I felt that, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. No.
Yeah, who wants to do that? Running around town with the dark blue suit on and
Yeah.
stockings and sweating like a pig.
Yeah.
No. What did you
That's
do?
right.
Yeah.
And I thought that I should definitely find a way to avoid this recruit katsudo, job
Yes.
hunting.
Yes.
And I bought a book on career choices.
That's what we do, right? We buy a book to help us.
Yes,
You bought a book on career choices.
that's right. And then decided that I needed to take kind of a national qualification like a doctor or a lawyer.
Hmm.
And because I was not very good at physics and math, I started to develop some interest in law, studying for the bar.
You started to develop an interest in law from reading that book?
Because I thought I needed to get a national qualification, and that
Right.
means either lawyering and doctoring
Right.
for me. Those two are most difficult ones, right?
Okay.
Qualification people can get. And I
Mm.
wanted to challenge the most difficult one. The doctor
Okay.
was out because I was not good at math and physics.
Got
So
it.
the
I see.
only option that left was lawyering.
Right. There you go.
And coincidentally, my sophomore student started his own private seminar on a Japanese constitutional law. So I joined it when I was freshman. And there I learned everyone should be treated equally. Your birth, sex, and belief shouldn't affect how you are treated by the Japanese government and ultimately in your society. Of course, nowadays, fair and equal treatment is a common sense. It's a joshi, right?
Joski, yes, common
Yes.
sense. Mm.
And it's a basis of our society and the business world. But 30 years ago, when I was a teenager, that was not the common understanding at all. Especially in my society, in the countryside, in Gunma, consisting of traditional families, including my families, and teachers.
Mm.
So this is the moment when I fell in love with road.
You fell in love with the law
Yes,
around the equal treatment and fairness of people, and that got,
correct.
I see.
This equal treatment, rights of equal treatment, wiped off my kind of discomfort that I felt when I was teenager. And it gave me a backbone and a sense of assurance that I was right. And then I seriously started to study law. And long story short, I passed the bar when I was a senior student at a university. Of course, it was not a smooth path for me at all. My university didn't have any law subjects. So I basically taught myself through academic books. Also at my university, ICU, a bar to acquire credit for graduate is so high, set so high. So kind of I juggled studying for the bar exam and attending classes and studying for tekishiken exams to get necessary credit for the entire university life. Plus, I had this part-time job at a supermarket operating two sushi machines at a sushi shop inside a supermarket.
Oh my goodness. You're operating a sushi machine in a sushi shop inside the supermarket.
Correct. A lot of
And
sushi, yeah.
oh, you love sushi. And you are, hang on, you are a senior at university, right? And you've passed the bar and you've done that through studying law subjects, through books,
Correct.
while you are doing credits for the ICU other qualification, not law.
I needed to graduate from university, right?
Yes.
So that means I got to get all the credits. So yeah, that's what I did.
So you're studying those credits, but you're also studying for the bar
Correct.
and serving up sushi.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know how you managed all that, but why did you do the part-time job? Why was that?
Because I wanted to take driver's license.
Oh, I see. And it's so expensive in Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is expensive.
Mm.
Now I'm a paper driver, so I don't know why I took it, but I thought it's quite important that I should take a driver's license during
So
my
that was
uni.
that was to save your money to get the driver's license, and you did that too. Wow, incredible. So you came out of having got the bar and you got your credits and graduated, and you joined private practice. You went
Mhm.
right into private practice. Some people go into in-house, some do private practice and go in-house. There's all kinds of things to do now. But what helped you think about going straight into private practice?
Yes, actually, when I was at the legal institute as a trainee, so legal institute, Shuhoken Shusho, is kind of special school run by the Japanese government, where all bar passers must go, whether you want to become a judge, prosecutor, or lawyer. And my first choice as a trainee was to become a judge, not to become a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it's really, really cool to be able to make a final decision on the case.
Ah, that's cool, huh? Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I actually worked at Tokyo District Court as a trainee, I saw judges and law clerks, after business hours, of course, started to drink in open space of the courthouse. The reason is that if you drink outside the courthouse, you might lose your important files. It was really, really, sensible practice and habit. But as 22 years old young girl, I felt I want to go out and enjoy drinks outside the courthouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they shouldn't take their files out. That's the thing, right? Just leave your work at home in the office, being the courthouse. But anyway, this is interesting. Keep going.
But, of course, drinking practice of judges and law clerks might be different now. But this is a moment when I decided to become a lawyer. Now, I'm a grown up, right? I feel a bit unwise for me that I have made this major career decision over drinking habit of judges and law clerks. But this is a really true story of my career choice.
This is so funny. I'm sitting here and I've got tears in my eyes laughing, trying not to bring it up on the mic, but I think I have. Just to make a decision over what you saw happening in front of you with them drinking in the open space of the courthouse after hours, and you didn't want to do that. So you chose not to be a judge, but to be a lawyer.
Yeah, correct. And you asked me about in-house, right?
Yes, yes.
It was a really easy decision for me because when I started lawyering, we didn't really have a lot of in-house lawyers. So my only option was going to private practice.
Right. So that makes sense that it was the choice then, but has changed over the years. So anyone who's private practice, we know this, but anyone who might be thinking about going straight into in-house, you're pretty lucky actually, because it's now an option to do that straight out of
Yes,
law school. But
definitely.
for us, it wasn't even, just didn't know that that was an option, and it wasn't advertised or promoted in law schools, that's for sure.
That's
Wow.
right. That's
So
right.
you've made yourself a name for being a fantastic cross-border M&A specialist. And I know you're not going to say, oh, no, I'm not, and be very humble, because you know you are a great lawyer in this area and it's so high pressured, totally strategic. But I think there's been some moments over the years that have really tested your skills. And although on this podcast, we don't really talk a lot about people's work deals, I think there's one deal out there that's in the public world that was really, really significant for you. And I did want to ask you about the Kansai Airport deal, because I think this one is a great example of how it tested your skills, but can also help other people when they think and hear your story and reflect themselves. Can you tell us about that deal?
Sure. Thank you for bringing up this Kansai Airport privatization that I worked on. This one was really interesting but a challenging deal. First of all, the deal was quite big, 2.2 兆円, $18 billion with a then exchange rate. And this one is still currently the largest ever PPP project in Japan.
PPP is, just for
PPP
everybody,
is kind of same as PFI. It's kind of, government and a private sector work together
partnership.
to execute a project of infrastructure. And we Freshfields were hired by the Japanese government to privatize Kansai and Osaka airports. At that time, around 2015 or 2014, all airports in Japan were operated by the Japanese central or local governments. So there were no private airport operators in Japan. So the Japanese government rightfully thought that we needed to invite international operators from outside Japan to operate this key infrastructure smoothly and efficiently.
Mm.
And then Shinichiro Okada, who was at New Kansai International Airport Company, we call it NKIAC,
In
which
Kia.
was
Right.
NKIAC, which was at that time owned by Japanese government 100%. He approached me, and Okada-san and I worked together on the Hakone Turnpike transaction when he was at Macquarie Bank. So both of us knew each other.
Yes.
And then eventually Freshfields was chosen as KIAC's Japanese government council.
Right.
So far, so good. We are very, very excited and felt very, very honored to be involved in this mega national project. But I encountered various challenges.
Wow. What were those challenges?
Most challenges came from a combination of language barrier and a unique PPP practice in Japan. The first few meetings with the Japanese government and KIAC were completely run by English. So I could invite my international colleagues who had airport expertise. However, of course, understandably, the client decided to run all meetings in Japanese completely. And we are invited to join a meeting every Wednesday from 1 to 5 p.m. with 50 or so participants from Tokyo, video conferences from Osaka too. This was okay so long as I was given enough time to consult with and discuss with my international colleagues who has actually airport expertise. However, no information was shared in advance. No agenda even was shared in advance.
I see. No agenda shared.
No, so I couldn't prep myself, right, with my colleagues, but still needed to fulfill my role as an international counsel. So the first few Wednesday meetings completely in Japanese were quite difficult.
Yes, I'm sure.
Meeting notes created by other advisors were handed over at the meeting and not shared in advance. And advisors just explained the notes. And basically that's it. No questions were asked. No discussions were held. And the meetings were kind of reporting sessions rather than discussion sessions.
Oh, the classic.
Yeah, it is classic,
Reporting.
right? It is
Reporting and
classic
not
Japanese
discussing.
style.
I see. Wow, what happened then?
And listening to others explaining their notes, a lot of questions came to mind, and I couldn't stop myself from asking questions. Of course, it was inappropriate in Japanese business context, especially in PPP world. But I thought to myself, what the heck, if I continue to sit here every Wednesday for 4 hours without saying anything, I'm not doing my job. Then I gradually started asking questions, sometimes saying things people don't want to hear, because I needed to challenge the then PPP precedent Japanese PPP players were used to. These precedents are often one-sided advantages to public side. Of course, in a usual sense, having one-sided documentation favoring your own client is often the case, and a sensible decision depending on your client's leverage as against a counterparty. So in other words, if your client's assets are attractive enough and the market conditions are good enough for your client as a seller, you can take that approach. But in our Kansai deal, as I mentioned before, the government knew that we needed to invite an international airport operator who was really sophisticated. And we knew that Japanese PPP president didn't cut us a deal. So whenever I felt very hesitant to raise a point in this, Japanese style climate, I reminded myself of this role, why Freshfields were chosen by the client. Of course, I became very, very unpopular among PPP players,
Mm,
as I always challenged their usuals.
right, the usual thinking. You're challenging all the time.
Gradually, people started to listen to me, and they realized the value Freshfield delivered to the table.
Well, yeah, the value you as a Freshfields person delivered to the table. Wow, the skill of standing up and asking questions and challenging others to be kind of unpopular, but standing in your integrity to do that and defend the client. Wow, that's huge. Keep going. Is there some more to tell?
So this deal continued for a few years because there were a lot of structuring and preparing for a public auction. And in my 25 years practicing law, this was by far most challenging, by far most painful, but by far most rewarding deal. I was really under tremendous pressure during the deal. So every Wednesday, I felt as if I go to the war by myself alone,
Oh,
fighting away enemies surrounding me.
oh, every Wednesday it was wartime fighting enemies around you. Oh,
Correct.
goodness.
And I hid in I ran into a bathroom, not
Yeah.
just once, but a few times, and I cried. But somehow I was able to bounce back, and I came to learn that if I was assertive enough, people could listen to me and even respect me.
Yes. Brilliant.
And after the deal closed with Oryx and Advancy Consortium, the most senior person in the project at the Japanese government side, Emily, Todorick-san, published his book and cited my name as one of the key contributors to the successful Kansai project. And also Freshfields won multiple awards for this project, including Innovative Lawyer of the Year in Asia Pacific 2017. I really learned this in a hard way, but this experience really set who I am now. I'm not afraid of asking questions, raising a point, challenging norms. Of course, there are different types of good lawyers, but a lot of my clients like me because who I am now.
Wow. That's an amazing story. It took so much courage to do that. But there's something inside of you burning that tells you, I have to ask this question. Why is no one else doing it? But you stood up and did it. And I think that is So brave. Like you said, going into war every week. You must have been sick the night before, crying in the bathroom. This happens to some of us, but you've told this story. You're the one that's telling us this now. Building on that, I also wanted to ask you about things that have changed for you over your life as a lawyer. Perhaps they're called reinvention moments, but times when you've had to reinvent yourself, maybe approach as a lawyer, maybe you had to let go of something to become who you are now. I can see from what you've just said, you've set the basis for yourself, being the person who asks the questions, who challenges. So, what else has happened to you over the years that have been reinventions?
Yes, I let go a lot of things in my career. My legal career is full of reinventions, actually. First of all, I joined Freshfields as a finance lawyer. After I came back to Japan from the study leave in the US and Freshfields London office back to Japan in 2007, Japan was about to enter into real estate investment boom by international investors. So because of this market demand, I shifted my practice from finance to real estate. And then a few years later, the Kansai deal made me famous in infrastructure field. However, after all these years that I thought I've achieved a lot, Freshfield strategy changed and I was asked to focus on M&A rather than real estate or infrastructure. So I let my all previous experiences go.
So finance,
Yeah,
real estate, infrastructure. Now you're moving into an M&A.
that's right.
So you let the
Of,
other experiences go to become an M&A focused lawyer.
of course, to be honest with you, and we should hide it from Freshfields, right? But I seriously thought about leaving Freshfields and joining Freshfields competitors. I had enough practice, portable practice, in clients' businesses. So I thought about it. However, I instead decided to stay at Freshfields and go outside my comfort zone.
So it wasn't about the firm, it was about you and
That's
your
right.
comfort zone.
Hmm.
That's actually a very important point because we often might change because we think it's the place where we are, but it's oftentimes ourselves. Wow, this is very exciting. Tell us more.
There are various reasons why I decided to stay at Freshfields. To give you a few, so Freshfields for a long time trusted me and gave me a very broad discretion and full autonomy. I was reporting to anyone within Freshfields other than a client long before I became a partner. I could go and hand business and clients and execute deals so long as my business is profitable enough. Also, I liked Freshfields culture and colleagues. At Freshfields, we must all practice being Freshfields, which is basically value shared by all Freshfields staff. People help each other and respect each other and be there for others. For us, being Freshfields is not just a check a box exercise, but we breathe in and live in this culture and value. As a transactional lawyer, I admit we'll be with my colleagues longer than our families.
Mm,
So who you work with is most important in choosing a law firm for me.
right. Yes.
Also, I love new challenges. Rather than pigeonholing myself, I wanted to expand my area of expertise. In my career, I made a lot of unwise decisions, like giving up becoming a judge over their drinking practice. But a decision of staying at Freshview was a very right one, and I'm very proud of the decision that I made.
Oh, love to Freshfields. I think what you're saying is you sort of reacted to being thrown into or having to do M&A after doing all those other things. And you could have made a decision based on the area of law that you were asked to do, requested to do, told to do, whatever it might be. But instead, when you looked at how you were trusted, how you had that autonomy and discretion, and the culture of this place where you do spend more time than with your family, you ended up rethinking that and found that Freshfields was the place for you. And we could just make a change because of we haven't really thought through the decision. We think it's the place, but it's actually our views and our not noticing what's right in front of us with those cultural things you're talking about. And you know what? I don't think it's unwise. I'm going to say that maybe it was a gut feeling that you had to stay, or a gut feeling you thought you had to leave, but actually the gut feeling came through very strongly. And you know, Jane, who produces this podcast, she was
Mm.
telling me the other day, our gut is our first brain. Our
Oh,
gut feeling is the first brain, and our head is the second brain. And we have to trust the gut feeling. First brain first, the gut.
that's very true, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's very true. And it seems to me like it's not about the judge and the drinking practice, but maybe it is in that you had a gut feeling about that.
That
And
is
it,
so,
right.
yeah.
And so you've moved from that. And now it's a great story to tell about seeing the judges and judging yourself on what you wanted to do. But it came from a gut feeling. And I absolutely love what you've just told us. Okay, I'm going to move into partnership because you did become a partner in 2023. And I wonder if there was a moment along the way where you knew you were ready for partnership.
So 1 year after I came back from the US and UK in 2007, a partner I had worked almost exclusively left the firm, and I became the most senior lawyer among the real estate infra finance team. For the first year after he left, I was busy with taking care of real estate clients he left to Freshfields, but I gradually was able to attract my own clients. It was a really scary moment because I didn't have anyone within Freshfields who I could consult with about matters. But I felt at the same time I must be a damn good lawyer because these reputable international investors retained me as the trusted legal advisor, right? But this feeling didn't translate quickly into my career aspirations to become a partner. This was really a totally different thing for me.
So interesting. Like you're a damn good lawyer, you're feeling that, but it doesn't translate into aspiring to be a partner.
At that time, and it is still so, my happiness as a lawyer comes from excitement leading a really difficult transaction and drawing good result for my client, and ultimately from happiness of my clients, and not from my promotion or my title. And becoming an equity partner at Freshfields is very, very difficult. It's 0.1% or even smaller chance of the whole associate population. And I didn't like managing upwards. I didn't like politics. I didn't like showing off my achievements.
Wow. You are really showing us now that you're not talking about titles and promotions. Some people do think about that and therefore they want to be partner. But you're talking about something really much more deeper, that your focus was just getting a great transaction done, even if it was difficult, being excited about that and getting good results for your client. And that's where you got your happiness, not from the title. Is that the same now? You have that title?
Even after I have this title, I still feel that client's happiness is my happiness, ultimately, yes.
So, what are some of the things that you did early on in your Freshfields career that you think has really helped you to stand out or perhaps build trust with your senior colleagues? Maybe some of your colleagues have even told you this and you didn't hear it inside yourself first, but you heard it from them.
Yes. So around 5 years before I became a partner, a female partner who was really senior, Jenny Colony, asked me to drop by her office because we didn't really have much interactions. I wondered what she wanna talk about. And when I entered into her office, she suddenly told me, "You're the only person who is not aware of your own talent, Tomoko." Clearly, she encouraged me to rise and challenge for a partnership. But, another but, even with this best compliment people can ever get from a senior partner who knows talented partners and associates all over the world, this didn't immediately change my mindset. In fact, I responded to her, no, 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 I don't have that kind of talent. But thinking back about this experience, I think this was probably the moment a little seed was planted in my consciousness. It didn't sprout right away, but even before that, not only my colleagues, but also my clients were supporting my career. Not one, but multiple clients told me, Nakajima sensei, you deserve to be a partner. When will Freshfields make you a partner? What can I do to make you a partner?
Whoa, amazing.
With all of these experiences combined, I finally realized that if I didn't take on the challenge here, it would take away the future of not only mine, but also other women. As you know, typical bias to women is even if we are talented, we don't have the spirit or Japanese gut to take on challenge, or we lack confidence. That is typical bias, right? And I realized that it's not just about me. It's a bigger problem. The problem of women as a whole. No, it's a problem of entire Japanese people, including men, who are said to be very passive in an international setting. And if I don't rise here, I will prove that that bias toward women and Japanese people are very true, and lower the rating of women and the wider Japanese people, I thought. And then I declared to Freshfields, I will become a partner. Not only that, I gave Freshfields a clear deadline. You are given 2 years to make me a partner. And if you don't, I will move to your competitor, I told them.
Boom. Oh my God.
My gosh, right?
Oh my God. I've got full body goosebumps. Oh my goodness.
Of course, I didn't use this direct word.
Ooh, but I imagine you said something pretty close.
Very close, yes.
Wow. Okay, so you're going for the higher elevation of not just for me, but for others. And that's, I think, our reason for being a human being on this planet, actually, Tomoko, because we move from doing things for ourselves or for titles or for self, and for others. And even beyond that, community. And you're talking about females and men in Japan and disproving a bias. You're going to the highest place you possibly can, contributing back to society. That's the meaning of us being human beings and what we do. And you went there.
Mm-hmm. I felt so responsible for others. I was given this chance, right? If I didn't try hard and get it, that's gonna affect the whole others. That was a kind of a scary moment when I realized I got to be successful because I was given a chance. But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Is Jenny still around?
Jenny retired back to London.
She's going to listen to this podcast, though, isn't she?
I hope so.
And that sort of brings me into mentorship and sponsorship because Jenny's been significant. She's someone who saw something in you that you didn't see. And then somehow along the way there, you finally felt it within yourself for the purpose that you've described right now, you've explained. Tell us a bit more then. Was there anyone else in that time who was a sponsor or mentor for you?
Yes. So Jenny was a kind of a, for me, informal mentor. So she planted, as I said, a little seed in me and it changed my mindset. And then my CEO, Georgia Dawson, became my Kozai sponsor who literally opened the doors for me. So becoming a partner at Freshfields is a highly, highly competitive, and I was competing with a partner candidates globally from Asia, Europe, UK, and United States. And because of an importance of Hong Kong market at the time as compared to Japanese market, the firm decided to delay my case from original 2022, the original deadline I gave it to Freshfields, to 2023. I was so disappointed, of course, right?
Well,
But
yeah, because you
immediately,
set the timeline.
yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
right, that's right. They broke the promise. But immediately after I heard about the firm's decision to prioritize other candidate, the CEO, Georgia, gave me a call and offered to have one-on-one session with me once a month until I become a partner.
Wow.
So she became a kind of my sponsor. She gave me a lot of valuable advice to make sure I will pass this extensive 2 days partner candidate interview sessions held in Frankfurt.
Wow. So she's your sponsor. So what's that difference then? Distinguishing between mentorship and sponsorship? Definitely by your example, you've given it, I think, but what does it mean to you?
I think a mentor is a person who is going to bring you to the entrance to various doors, someone who would influence you and change your mind and give you confidence.
Like Jenny did. Yeah.
Correct. Whereas sponsor is a person who is gonna actually open doors for you together with you, give you a strategic advice to open doors, and also exercise his or her power externally to open the door. That, I think that those are main differences between mentor and sponsor.
Yeah, and the sponsor's not only opening the door, they're doing it with you.
Correct.
And I really love that. Goodness me. And Georgia is still around.
Georgia is still CEO of our fisheries
Woo,
farm.
Georgia, thank you so much. Look what's happened to your protege here. And wow, thank you to her for looking out for you. What an incredible experience. I love your description too. The door and the entrance is a really great description to distinguish mentorship and sponsorship. So, I'm going to ask you a question that maybe I haven't asked one of our people before about superpowers. Lawyers have superpowers. What is your superpower, Tomoko?
My clients, especially like my leadership in negotiations, I was told, some describe that I'm good at combining technical accuracy and horsepower in negotiations. Bariki
Horsepower.
in horsepower, bariki in
Ariki,
Japanese,
yes.
in negotiations. So I guess that is one of my strengths.
How do you develop a horsepower in negotiations?
Yeah, it's all about practicing.
Hmm.
So before I enter into negotiation room, I will rehearse in my head hundreds of scenarios of arguments and counter arguments and counter arguments for key points and prep myself so that I can instantly respond to all and any scenarios and arguments from the other side.
Wow. You practice in your mind and
Yeah,
rehearse hundreds of
always.
scenarios and arguments and counter arguments so you're ready?
It's like shogi,
Oh,
Japanese chess.
Japanese chess. So you've thought about it and that's your horsepower.
Yeah, yeah. So you can rebut any argument in favor of your client. So you can win the point.
You can move that chess piece on the chessboard knowing what the next move might be.
Correct.
Whoa. What else? As if that's not enough, but tell me some more.
Let me see. Asking question and challenging even client decision. So to give you an example, there was a kind of moment that I thought I could lose a job, but I decided to tell this anyway to my client because I strongly felt the path my client was about to take would damage them by multi-million dollars. So we won this point from the other side. And the client told me after a few glasses of sake, after we successfully closed the transaction, Nakajima sensei, I haven't been scolded like that since I was in elementary school. But thank you, Nakajima sensei, for scolding me.
Oh,
It saved us.
boom. Oh my gosh. So you've got this bariki horsepower happening by telling a decision maker who's made a decision, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Those are superpowers. I haven't heard those before. Fantastic. Well, I do want to get going and finish up. Perhaps there's probably something for lawyers who are coming up the ranks, the future of our legal leadership, some real talk for them. Maybe there's some young lawyers out there listening who are starting their journey. And maybe there's some who are considering cross-border M&A. Have you got some advice for them that maybe you wish you'd heard earlier? Or maybe it's something that was underrated or really needs to be rethought today?
I guess that your audience is a younger generation of women legal professionals or Japanese legal professionals, right? So I want to urge them to be very, very kind to yourself. We women and also Japanese people have a tendency to think that unless you achieve something by 120% or even 200%, you're not deserved to go to the next level. I'm extremely proud of Japanese virtues of humbleness, kenkyosa.
Yes.
But I think in a business context, and especially in an international business context, we should put a pause on our Japanese value and virtues for a short period of time, and we should practice a fake and a make it approach. So be kind to yourself.
Pause those sort of holding back. Yeah, leaving them alone for a while you actually promote yourself and go forward and be kind to yourself. You don't have to do everything at 120%. Wow, amazing. If there's one thing you could change about the legal profession in Japan, what would it be?
Of course, I cannot force them, but I feel that Japanese law firms should charge more and pay more to their associates. I'm telling you this because lawyering as occupation is not as popular as it used to be. Here in Japan, it takes time to become a lawyer. It takes at least 3 to 4 years after you graduate university. But even at the biggest law firms in Japan, associate partner salaries are not as high as that of investment bankers, consulting firms, or international firms like us. I believe law firms in Japan, including Freshfields, we are responsible to form the future of Japanese legal society. And I believe unless we create an attractive legal market for younger generation, there's no bright future for Japanese law students and for us people living in Japan. Currently, surprisingly, biggest Japanese firms' hourly rates are by far lower than that of some Southeast Asian law firms. So, tell you what's happening now. Law students with high information literacy made already a swift move. Rather than sitting for the Japanese bar exam, they sit for New York or California bar and coming back to Japan as an international associate, rather than Japanese law qualified associate.
Right.
So this means they can just shortcut at least 1 year going to Japanese legal institute and paid a lot of more than joining Big Four as a Japanese law qualified lawyer. Nothing wrong about this, but I feel that Japanese qualification is becoming underrated by younger generation.
Right.
This is because of the pay gap between working as a Japanese lawyer at Big Four versus working as an international associate in Japan.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked this question. The pay rate is so important. I actually saw on NHK News today, they did a survey of new graduates who'd just started at their companies across the land. And contrary to what people think, that a lot of new grads want flexibility and work from home, the second most popular answer to the question of what's the reason you join this company, and it was the pay and pay conditions. And that was only second to making sure that the health benefits were appropriate. So I imagine that this is not just companies and that it translates further, that paying people for a good job is so important to bring them into companies and organizations, law firms, right? And have Japan Bengoshi qualification compete the same level as international lawyers. What a brilliant suggestion. I'm glad I asked that question. Well, we're at the end of the show, but I want to ask you, have you enjoyed today? Would you recommend others do it?
I did, definitely. Through your questions, I thought about what I did right and wrong in my career, and I'm really glad to share my experience that, my story could help others, right? Thinking about currently whether, she or he changed their jobs or that in their situation. I'm really glad that I could help even a little bit. I think a lot of people, women and men, have a great experience they could share. People think that your experience is so unique to you, or you are trivial, just a normal person. So there's nothing you want to share, or you can share, or beneficial to others. But that's not true, right? There are a lot of people, and could be someone like you, right? So I definitely encourage everyone to join your podcast, Catherine. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
Today's podcast is brought to you by the sponsorship of Tomoko Nakajima and Freshfields. Just joking. Thank you so
You're
much for
joking.
thanks so much for the endorsement. I thank you really, really for that. And that's what it is about, that your career is maybe similar to others, but it is so unique. And others may think something, but you can think yourself about what you've done in your career and share it like you have, because I know there are so many gems today that others would not have heard before. And I'm so proud of you for staying true to yourself when it could have been really easy across your years of your career to bend to what others want, believe in that decision maker and not say something to them that they were going to make a mistake. Doing the right thing to say, the right thing to ask. And you've done that and stuck to your guns with that horsepower. And I just really appreciate you telling us this, because no one said it before. So thank you, because I know that there are people who are going to sit with this episode after they've listened and really think about what they want to achieve in their life and career and their purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And for anyone who is listening and did love this episode, please do subscribe, leave us a review, tell us what you loved about this episode. It really helps other lawyers like you, law students and others, find this show and step into their own extraordinary careers. Thank you for today. We'll see you on the next episode. Cheers, kampai, and bye for now.